Welcome back to Weekend Express. It is now time to discuss career choices. And in studio with us, best-selling author and international motivation speaker Bonnie Kim joins us. Thank you so much for joining us on Weekend Express.
Thank you.
He is the CEO of Bonnie Kim Limited, right?
Yes.
Talk to us a little more about Bonnie Kim Limited and what it does.
Bonnie Kim Limited is a corporate training that we do team building, motivational speaking, and we are approved by the National Industrial Training Authority. And apart from that, also mentorship and coaching for corporates. We do customer service and sales training. And the overall scope for transformation, because our motto is transforming people and organization, because we believe when people are transformed, then they can be able to transform the organization, because an organization is great as its people.
Yes. I understand you don't just train businesses, you also train students as well, schools as well, separate entities.
Yes.
All right, so you'd be the great person then, the best placed person to discuss career choices, because many people are still caught in between whether they want to be employed, whether they want to be in entrepreneurship, especially in this day and age when everything is so fast-paced. So you really just take the first thing that comes on board. But in terms of picking your career choice, starting from when you leave school, how does one decide or start to prepare whether they want employment or entrepreneurship?
That's a very good question, because I've worked with over 300 schools in about 24 counties so far in Kenya, being the rest was Marsabit. And one of the things I have seen is that there is a gap that people are missing between, let's say, from high school to college and university to the time they get employment. Because one of the things you find there is forced career, where parents say, hey, Michelle, maybe the parent maybe has 5 kids, say, hey, you be a doctor, you be a lawyer, you be an engineer, and maybe you can maybe a contractor.
Right.
But you see, it doesn't fit with their personality, because when we are born, we have that personality. Because if you take me and put me to a corporate office and put me in the back office, I'll be the noisiest person in the back office. So even though I become a very good accountant, you force me into math, and I know I'll perfect because I'll be forcing myself to be there. But I'm not supposed to be there, because by default, I'm not that kind of a person.
Right.
My personality does not match. So you find somebody is doing whatever they have taught to do. They have gone to school. The career have been forced into them, but it is not already in them. So those people are not productive at they become distractors in their place of work. Or maybe when you bring somebody who is born maybe to be an introvert and is working maybe in the front office, you find that he's engaging less with customers. And you find maybe like it's a weakness. But if you take the same person, take them to back office, you'll be able to see the productivity that is in them. So there is that gap, and it comes now when people now need to know what is actually in them, what the God-given talent that is in them. Because within us, nobody was born empty, nobody was born useless. You find there is something in us that we can do best than anybody else in the world.
Right, but you know, many times they say society today judges a fish by its ability to climb a tree, because society has been so structured that you go to school, and you go to high school, and you go to college, and then you get an office job. It's how society is structured. So people don't quite have the time to start exploring their inner feelings, their inner identity. So in this day and age, with so many distractions, how does one, especially at such a young age from school, begin to self-assess themselves?
I think number one, people need now to know, are you an employer or are you an entrepreneur? Because when it comes like to me, I knew number one is I'm more of an entrepreneur, because I started making my first money when I was 5 years old.
Right.
When I was
Really?
growing chaos, Kumawiki, and then I was doing a lot of businesses. So even when I got the job in the corporate sector, I got a job in Nakumatt, started from shop assistant to a cook, to a cleaner, to a receptionist, to a trainer, to head of training manager at the age of 22. I knew that, yes, I have reached my peak. But you see, the biggest challenge we have is people who are very much highly educated, and they don't want to start from the bottom.
Right.
Because no matter how big your vision is, don't worry where you are starting. But I say, no matter how low you start, also never lose a vision of how far you want to go in life. Because
you were a cleaner
at
first.
Yes.
So it's the perfect example of
Yes.
climbing the ladder,
Yes.
no shortcuts.
Yes, there is no shortcut because I've worked in the warehouse just behind here, and I have loaded goods from 8 to 9 p.m. and carried goods. But I had a vision because the biggest challenge our young people are having, they want to drive a Range Rover the next day they come from school.
Right.
They don't want to start, when they are speaking with their friends who are coming from universities, who are graduates, they don't want to say, I'm a cleaner, I'm a roader. They don't want those dirty jobs. They call them 3D jobs, dirty, dangerous, and demeaning. So they don't want that kind of job. They want to start in a big corporate office. But they forget the employer, the things, number one, they are looking. Number one, they are looking for integrity. Number two, they are looking for experience. They are looking for your energy. Do you have them? Are you willing to get the experience? Because as young graduates come from school and say, do you have the experience?
And you ask for 10 years experience.
10 years, you don't
school.
have the experience.
Right.
But the big question is, are you willing to start somewhere? Because I know some people who have graduated from abroad and they come here and they say, the starting salary is 30,000. Say, no. Yet, as we started with as little even as 8,000. And we grew up even to earning 6-figure. But the big challenge is, are you willing to start where you are? And then do you have the vision of how far you want to go if it's career and if it's entrepreneurship? Are you willing to start in that dirty environment where people despise you, where people say, hey, Michelle, why come you stop that job and now this is where you are? Because you'll be despised, because you're not going to go to the entrepreneurship and succeed from day one.
Right. And speaking of having a vision, because both employment and entrepreneurship, they both have their pros and cons. But many times you'd find somebody would try employment and then it do too much pressure, so they get out and try entrepreneurship, which is also really not easy. In fact, it could be harder than employment. And so they get to a point where they realize employment isn't working for me, entrepreneurship isn't working for me either. How important is it to have that big vision, your big picture to drive you?
I think I would say, number one, if you're not a risk taker, don't try even entrepreneurship. Then if you're not self-disciplined, don't even try entrepreneurship, because the worst part in entrepreneurship, nobody is going to wake you up to go to your business. It's better employment. Somebody will say, have you done this report? Somebody will put pressure on you and say, reporting time is 8 to 6 p.m. So nobody is going to do that if you are the entrepreneur. So if you didn't have it, and how do you know you have it? Check the reporting time you go to work. Are you always early before work every time? Are you the last one to leave one? Because if you have that you're the first one to get into your job and you're the last one to leave, then you can be able to say, hey, I can be a good entrepreneur, because you need a high level of discipline and personal discipline. And then you need to have a high self-esteem if you are going to go to entrepreneurship, because sometimes the customer are not going to buy whatever you're selling. And then you'll be going to be discouraged. Then you go to the bank, they cannot give you a loan. Then the business is down, and then if you're not the person who can be able to encourage yourself, then you're going to fail terribly and fail successfully, and you'll be an example of failure. Because you did not have it.
Okay, and I'm sure we've all had the phrase, fake it till you make it. And once somebody has made their choice, whether they want to be in employment or entrepreneurship, what many times we're told is the importance of the power of self-image, something that people don't really take seriously. But we're told, if you want to be a banker, then dress like a banker. If you want to be a CEO, then dress like a CEO. So let's talk about the power of self-image in achieving your goals.
It's very good, and it's an area I've been known for this market for and in the world. And number one is talk about self-image. Self-image, it is that mental picture of yourself. It is perfecting your personality. And as you know, personality comes from the word persona in the Greek word. And persona was a mask that the actors used to put themselves when they are acting. So persona is something that you can change. So self-image, it is that mental picture that you plant in yourself and say, this is who I am. It is like the frame that limits what we get in life and what we say it's possible and what we say it's not possible. Unless you have that crystal clear self-image of who you want. Because I say, if you join an organization, then you say, who do you want to be from day one? And you must have that clear picture that even when you're in kitchen, you see yourself as a trainer, you see yourself as a CEO, you see yourself as manager, you see what do the manager do, how do they dress, when do they report to work, what is their job description, what are they expected to do from day one. It doesn't matter whether you are the gatekeeper, as far as you see yourself as the CEO, you dress like the CEO, and you behave like CEO, and you put that picture already firm, planted in you, that no matter how low, you never lose the vision.
Then the law of
where you are.
attraction and the universe will do the
Everything
rest.
will work to you, because that picture is the one that is going to attract you the resources, the people that you need, and the right circumstances that you need. Whether maybe sometimes I say they come positively, some you ask, others they come through accident, others they come in mysterious, because you'll be attracting. Remember, most people are working on having. But I tell people, don't work on having, work on becoming.
Right.
Because the moment you become, then you automatically attract what you are. Not what you want, what you have already become. So self-image is important because you have already planted in you a picture of who you are and where you're going, and is already in you. And from that time, then everything will fall into place. The people you need, the resources that you need, the circumstances that you need to give you what you have already become.
And can you acquire a self-image that is not really what you want per se? Because many times people have an identity crisis.
Yes.
Your mother told you to be a doctor,
Yes.
so
Yes.
from a very young age you
Yeah.
started acting like a doctor
Yeah.
and thinking like a doctor and
Yes.
going like a doctor, but it's not really
Yeah.
what you are about. So how do you deal with that identity crisis and turn it around really to finding your path?
I think one of the things that I have seen, and it repels badly about people, is when people try to have a self-image of that is not matching in their DNA. Because maybe, let's say, for example, I try to be an accountant. Yes, I'll pretend, I will try to see myself as an accountant, but I continuously feel terribly because I'm affirming something that is not already in me. And that's why I say sometimes it's good when we connect ourselves with the source, which is God. Because I say, number one, when you connect yourself with God who created you, then it is easy to know which are some of the things that you do easily and naturally. Because I don't struggle to speak. I don't have to prepare to go and do a presentation because it's already in me. I have already nurtured. I've already seen myself doing it. So you have to create a self-image that is matching with your DNA, that is matching with your strength, that is matching with your passion, and that is matching with what you really like. Because unless you do that, then you try to create a self-image that even you are struggling to believe. And
Right.
if you struggle to believe, then other people are not going to accept you because, number one, you're already struggling to believe it. How people believe in you if you don't believe in yourself?
Right.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and I have a question here from one of our viewers on Twitter saying that he opted to, this is Jacob Omar, says he opted to choose entrepreneurship.
Yes.
But as a business person,
Yeah.
how do you sell your business to people?
Yeah.
And I think it's about really the self-image, how to attract success to your business, pretty much.
I think number one is about the way you were saying about personality, because people buy you before they buy whatever you're selling. I speak to salespeople and say people that money is the medium of exchange, but people are the medium of sale. People buy people. People are the one that determines the kind of sale. Number one, you must have attractive personality. And having attractive personality, also, you have two kinds of friends in life. A groomie, or maybe the one who are now who have life. The ones you see, they already full of life. And that's, you see, those are the two kinds of friends you have in life. Now, the advantage, if you have attractive personality, when you meet, let's say I meet you, Michelle, I speak less of myself and I listen more of you, and I try to give you attention. So that the customer don't feel cheated in business. They feel, apart from buying these products, I'm getting value. Today we are running about customer service that is now not just customer service management, but relationship. We must take it to the next level. You must be able to connect with your customers. You must add value to your customers, and they must know that you are a free person to talk to. And every time they come in contact with you, they are getting value, And as they get value, your business is growing because you are engaging with them. You are not a robot. You can smile to them. You can speak, wow, you look good. You can have something to appreciate because you get what you give. So if you give groominess, guess what? Customer, they have enough troubles of their own. They don't want more.
Right.
Yeah, so, but if you give happiness, then the world laughs at you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Now let's focus on the big quagmire, and
Yes.
that is, when you get into employment, you become very comfortable.
Yes.
But now transitioning from employment to entrepreneurship,
Yes.
that uncertainty of not knowing what
Yeah.
lies
Yeah.
on the other side, which is what you did.
Yes.
Talk to us about your journey. How did you
Yes.
transition from employment to entrepreneurship?
I think from the journey from employment to entrepreneurship is one of the biggest challenge because number one, here you are in a nice office, comfortable, you have a salary, and your family has already gotten comfortable. But here you want to change the status quo. And it is not easy because I tell people, I stayed with my resignation letter for about 3 years in my computer.
Thinking about it.
Yes, keep rechanging the dates, keep rechanging the dates. Because here you check, here you have this amount of loan that you have to pay, and you have this crazy idea that you want. But I tell people, hey, it's about making decision. And the longer you wait, the worse it is for you. Because, and not just take a risk, take calculated risk. And that's why I tell people, like, the people who fail terribly are not the people who come from small businesses to transition from small business to entrepreneurship. It is people who come from big corporates that fail terribly because you're in marketing department, you never know whatever happens in the organization. You just pick a call, this check, this approval. You never know whatever is happening. And the biggest challenge we have is having employees who want to transition from employment to entrepreneurship, who don't take ownership in their current employment. You must own whatever you are doing. You must know whatever is going on in the organization.
People say,
from the top to the bottom.
mamangu.
Yes.
So they just come and do their
They just come and do their
go.
bits and they go home. And yet the next day, they say, I think I need to go to entrepreneurship. You are going to fail terribly. You got to know what happens in marketing, what happens account, what happens procurement, what happens finance, what happens the kitchen department. Every department that you have, you must know, because when you transition from employment to entrepreneurship, you be the boss, you be the sweeper, you be the cleaner, you be the messenger. You're going to be everything. You're going to negotiate with your supplier. You're going to send the quotation. You're going to go for the meeting. All these require one person, you. And unless you own the current position that you are, that you own whatever you are doing, that you are the process owner, that you own all the procedures in whatever you are doing, and you own that, it will be hard for you to transition from employment to entrepreneurship. But if you own, if you start taking and knowing whatever is going on in the organization, you have everything that is going on in you, then it will be very easy for you to succeed when you go to your own entrepreneurship job. No matter how small, you're going to take it to the next. And remember, you'll be more advantageous because you have seen how high you want to go.
Right.
So you also have an added advantage. But somebody coming from a small organization, they have been used to do all the work. So it is very easy for them to transition. The only challenge they have is lack of exposure. Yeah.
All right. Now, you've authored several books since you began motivational speaking.
Yes.
How did you decide that this was what you wanted to do?
I think writing, for me, I never thought one day I'm going to be an author. As people told me, Bonnie, you should write a book. I did a youth exchange program I did in Rwanda, and I used to have people to speak to. So when I came, I started sharing the life lessons that I learned. People say, hey, Bonnie, you should record this in a book. And it was not easy to start. And I remember the first book I wrote, it was stolen because I did not have a computer, so I gave somebody to type for me. Now, when I started writing the first book, then the second book, people say, Bonnie, I thought you were writing a book. So it was a notebook because it was very small.
Right.
Yeah.
You started small.
Yeah, I started small. It was half of, it was B6. It was half of A5 book. And it was very small booklets. And I remember that book being reviewed by the Standard. And then the book skyrocketed in sales. I started getting interviews. Then I wrote 4 books and started getting all the media interviews, the newspaper, the radio, everything. And I started writing. And the good thing when it comes to writing, you write one book, you do a facilitation, motivation. People ask you questions, say, wow, I think I should write such a book. Today I have all that 10 books. But it's a journey.
It's a
I always
journey.
say the first book is the hardest. But the moment you do the first one, the other follows.
They also say if you want to hide something from a Kenyan, put it in a book, because Kenyans are not very big on that reading culture. How would you describe the reading culture in the country now?
I think the reading culture, it's growing very fast. The big challenge we are having is the book buying culture, like the way we shop for our monthly food. And I always say house without books is like a body without a soul.
Right.
Because we need to invest, because in life you're either building a library or either building a grave. Because everything you're going through, somebody went through it through a book. So it's good that we start investing in books. And I challenge people, how many books do you read a month? Because Kenyans, we have this culture when somebody goes back to do their degree or their MBA, that time they are book lovers, but they read only to pass exam.
Right.
You ask them, what did you study? They don't remember. And they want to get promoted because, hey, here I have my master's, here I'm getting my doctorate. But the big challenge is we are not in the culture of retention. We are not in the culture of reading, because we need to read and challenge ourselves. How many books do we read per month? Start from 1. That makes 12 books a year. Start with 2 books. That makes 24. Start with 3. That makes, you get the math. You have 72 books. By the time you create that culture of reading at least 50 books in your field, then you'll be among the best in your field.
Right. And I mean, you've gone out and you've won several accolades because of your motivational speaking. You're now an international motivation speaker. I mean, how did you scale such heights?
I think number one is, I always say it's God, because it's God's favor and grace that I get, because sometimes I'm sitting in my office and I get a speaking engagement even in the international market, or maybe I go to do a presentation. Somebody says, hey, I see that presentation is good. Like now in May, I'll be giving a talk in Arizona. And it's just, I gave a talk and then somebody was interested to say, wow, I'd like you come and speak to a group in US, and say, wow, that's good. But one of the things I said, like last year I was voted in the Avance Media Award. I was voted top 100 most influential young Kenyans in the motivation that was personal academia. I became number 2. And overall in the country, I was number 6 out of 100.
That's great.
Yes.
And speaking of personal academia, because you have authored a book, The Power of Self-Image for Successful Students. And this is something, of course, that has won you a lot of accolades. But, you know, many people don't think about self-image when talking to students. It's about reading hard and being smart. What is this book about?
One of the things I tell even students and I speak to them is that I have seen students making a mistake of starting to wake up early in the morning so that they improve their grades.
In my time, it wasn't waking up in the morning, it was sleeping late. We call it transnighting.
Transnighting. And you find, unless you change the grade in your mind, because you can see maybe you're struggling with D's, and you're waking up early to get A, but you have not changed it in your software. It's just like the same, like printing a hard copy and trying to change the one and put white collar, the soft one, where it came from, never changed. It comes from soft to hard.
From inside.
But most of the people, we try from the hard copy. We want to change the grades, which we have not changed fast, mentally, in ourselves. When you are struggling with that D, start changing. If you want an B, say I'm a B. If you want an A, say I'm an A. Let it first sink in your subconscious mind, because we have the 3 types of mind. Number 1 is the conscious mind that choose. After it choose, goes to the subconscious mind, which execute. And then there is the powerful, the third mind, which is the superconscious mind, where when you connect yourself with God, now you're able to do amazing, exceedingly abundantly and above what you ask. But the first you see is the choosing mind. You first choose, I'm an A student. Then it sinks after 21 days, sinks in your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind execute whatever you already planted in your mind. That's when you become. And when you become, you start now having a personal challenge. How can I pass in mathematics? How can I pass in science? How can I increase my income? How can I be better in my work? Because already you have already sunk a goal. You have already planted a self-image in you of excellence that will settle nothing more than excellence.
Right.
And when you are there, now you have already become. Now what do you get? You get a challenge. How come this is beating me? And I know I'm brighter than this person. How can I be able to pass? And you find yourself challenged, and you start asking questions, because why? You have already become that A. Even though your report form say you have a D, you have already become an A. Then what will happen is that you start asking questions where you're struggling. And that's why even I tell parents play a very big role, because as parents, don't see the D that is in your report form. See the A. Differentiate between the report form and your child. Because the moment you start encouraging your child from, I see an A in you, even when there is an E, then that student say, wow, if my parents believe I'm an A student, I think I should improve.
I should improve and get
But
that
when
A.
they get a C and you discourage, you're good for nothing, guess what? The C will transition to an E, where the E will come to an E.
Right.
Why? You meet with, what do you encourage? Do you motivate?
So this is not something that happens overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. The same way we have reached where we are, we have created a negative self-image, is the same process that we create to create a positive self-image. So it doesn't happen overnight.
This is another book I was also very curious about, and this is a bit different from your other publications.
Yes.
What is true love? And it's rather different from every other book. You're talking about success.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this particular book.
I think what is true love is I say there in the precept of the book that I say that the hardest thing to find in life is not to find a soulmate, but to find the kind of soul you are before you find its mate.
That's, that's deep and confusing.
Yeah, because you must be able to find yourself and know who you are, what is your strength, what is your weakness, and who is the person who is going to fit in your life. What is your aspirations in life? Where do you want to go to in life? Because the moment you know that, even getting somebody, because I say nobody is perfect. The only perfect person in this world is the imperfect person that you see and work on them to become perfect.
Right.
So don't try to go and look for perfect
There's
person.
been a lot of talk on how your choice of a spouse and your choice of life partner has a direct impact on the success of pretty much everything else in your life, whether it's your academics, whether it's in school. What connection is there?
It's a very big connection because, especially, let's say, for example, for men, we need encouragement, we need inspiration. Our wife needs to be our inspiration, because when you see a successful person, then the wife is working behind the scenes to make them. Because imagine every day I woke up and I get this naggy woman. You think, I'm not going to have this energy such this time in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Because somebody had to
because somebody
cook some
is
breakfast.
putting you down. Because you get. So, and it also works even for the same when the men doesn't give their women freedom and empower them and trust them that they can raise them and not think anything is happening on, and empower them. Then when these people go their own free ways and they're empowering each other and they trust each other, it will be easy for them to garner huge success than a couple that is fighting.
Right.
Yeah, because nobody is perfect. You always fight. But the big challenge is, are you able to agree? Because I've seen people who don't fight, but they don't agree.
They don't agree.
They don't move on. They don't progress
Right,
in
so
life.
that's very difficult even.
Yeah.
All right, and then there's this other one, Born Without a Choice. And this one has received quite a lot of reviews and mixed reactions. No one can take a gift from you. Everything you need to know about is within. Talk to us about this particular book.
I think Born Without a Choice was inspired during my time in Rwanda. After I served during my time in youth exchange program. And one of the things I found is that, yes, it happened, and even Rwanda, they are mourning the 100 days of what happened. And when I reflected now what happened in 2007, I realized one thing, that nobody wrote a catalog on whose parent to be born to. Nobody wrote a catalog, I'll be born in this tribe, I'll be born the other tribe.
Right.
I'll be born a male, I'll be born a female, I'll be born in Kenya, I'll be born in this country or continent. But despite that, the greatest gift that God gave man, even when he created man, was the gift of freedom to choose. You may not choose to be born in the family that you're born to, but you are the one that choose how you're going to live your life. You may not choose how you're born, but you may choose how you die. Because our life is the sum total of choices that we make each and every day. Every choice that we make has repercussions and impact in our life, whether we are going to become better, whether we're going to retrogress. So we have to be careful, because every day we have a choice. And those choices are the one that determines whether we're going to be successful or where they're not going to be successful. Yeah.
All right. And let's speak about some of the distractions to
Yeah.
success.
Yes.
And among the youth, mostly it is addiction,
Yes.
substance addiction,
Yes.
addiction to whatever really.
Yes.
How, as a motivational speaker, would you advise the youth to successfully beat addiction?
I think number one, it is writing down your goal, the power of writing down, because one of the way to success, I say, is made up of three things. Number one, it is through creating the mental picture. Then number two, you write it down. And number three, through the words that you speak to yourself. So it is mental pictures, the writing it down, and speaking to yourself, because when you have a mental picture of where you're going, it will be easy even to overcome identity crisis and peer pressure, because you're able to know, I want to reach here, this person doesn't have that vision. Then number two, you have it clear written down that it sinks in you, and you write it and you write it down.
I understand there's a lot of therapy. It's very therapeutic to actually write things down.
And don't just write once. Keep writing every day. Rewrite something. Have a small papers and report it down. Your goals, the one that you want to achieve. And then number three, speak to yourself. Affirmation, self-affirmation works miracles, because it will be easier for you, because when you get a distraction, then you say, this is not right for me, this person, because a lot of distraction comes, number one, when you're not able to have a goal, when you don't have timeline for your goal. So, and somebody says, if you don't know the way, where you're going, then you never get lost, because all the way can take you there. But when you have a clear written goal, it is easy to know this friend is not for me, because there is very good addictions. And number one is when you are addicted to your dream. When you are addicted to your dream.
Addicted to success.
Addicted to success. It works miracles for you, because it's like everything is working for you. The law of attraction is working for you. God is working for you. He's sending the right people in your life. And you say, wow, this is a wonderful world. Why? Because you are addicted to your success.
All right. Before we continue, let's take a call. We have Philip, who's calling in from Mombasa. Philip, thank you for calling in. What's your comment or question? Philip, if you can hear me, what's your comment or question?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Go ahead.
Bonnie, good morning.
Good morning.
Philip, if you could just reduce the volume on your TV, or probably switch it off before we continue.
I just want to congratulate Bonnie for the work he's doing. I just want to congratulate Bonnie for the work he's doing.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Bonnie is a great inspiration to me. And I just want to tell Kenyans that this guy has come from far. I don't know whether he has explained it on the stream.
We're just about to get to that.
Okay. But, you know, in fact, he once trained me at Nakuma's head office. I worked there as a salesperson. And also, when I read this book, The Power of Self-Image, it takes me far, no matter how you look like. It's just a small book, but it contains a lot of inspiration in it. So Bonnie can even sell you a book without giving money at this point. He can even give you a book and you pay him later.
Right.
Yeah, so I just want to tell Kenyans to buy Bonnie's books. He's a great inspiration to Kenyans, a young man with a lot of intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in, Philip, and clearly a very big fan of yours there. And this is just what we're about to get to, your story, because you've had quite a journey, and you've highlighted it in passing. But let's talk about where you started.
Yeah. I think I started because I'm born from a single parent. I grew up with my grandparents in Ishashiri, that is in Gatondo. In Ishashiri Primary School, I'm currently the board chairman, BOM chairman. And I'm telling people it's good to give back to the community. Then went to Getito High School. And from there now, that's when I transitioned now, did my youth exchange program. And then now went to the corporate sector to get a job. The first job I worked was in Books First. I was a cyber attendant. I've worked in the UK in Prestige and Lifestyle. Then from there, that's when I started now in Nakumat. And that's when now I told you my growth, how it has been. Until now, I resigned in 2014 and now started full-time with my company, Bonikim Limited. And one of the things I have seen is that when you have a clear picture of where you're going in life, everything seems to work for you, but there are many challenges. But what gives you success, it is when you have that clear goal planted in you, it is easy for you to overcome the challenges because already you can see the treasure that is waiting for you. For example, I'm struggling, maybe I'm thirsty, I'm struggling to reach this cup. The reason why I'm going to reach there is because the victory when I get the cup and I get what is inside.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah, very refreshing. But if I don't have a goal, then it will be easy for me to reach where I'm going because I say, after all, where am I heading? And this works as the story that I usually give the student. I say, imagine there was 3 students in a class and they were studying for their KCSE exam. And the teacher came, it was during lunchtime, and there was only 3 students. And the teacher came and said, what are you doing? He said, teacher, I'm studying. The second student said, what are you doing? I'm studying because I want to get an A. And he went to the third student, what are you doing? I want to become the best doctor in the world. And I asked student, who do you think is going to succeed in life? Not the one who is studying, not the one who is studying for an A, but the one who have a clear destination of the end result of their success. Because that person is not going to waste any time in life. That person, whether he's a Form 1, he will try to maximize all his time to become the doctor that he wants, to become the engineer, to become the teacher. And I tell, at the end of the day, there are 2, you must have a fallback plan, even in education. Number 1 is either a skill or a profession. That's the fallback plan everybody should have.
Right.
Whether you are in business, have a fallback plan, either a skill or a profession, because nobody can steal this from you. Because no matter the crisis that comes, when you have a fallback of a skill or
It's
a
in you.
profession,
Nobody
and
can
it's
take
in
it
you,
away
nobody
from you.
can steal. Whether you be a doctor, be a lawyer, have something, a fallback plan for you. Have a skill and make sure you are the best in that skill.
All right. Let's focus on a trend that is also very alarming among the youth. Not just the get-rich-quick youth today, but also the kind of youth that start businesses without really thinking about the social impact of it. And youth are now being encouraged to really start, as much as you're going into entrepreneurship, start a business that will create other businesses, will create other opportunities for people. So really, in terms of mentorship and mentoring other youth, how important is it to stress that factor? Don't be a selfish entrepreneur. Be a social entrepreneur.
Yes. I think one of the things, and you're doing something on social entrepreneurship, is I think the people who have been successful in this country, I'm giving them a big challenge. Get the people. I'll be happy to see even people like Chris Kirubi, Tusha, these kind of people who have been successful in this country, to start even entrepreneurship forums, not just online, to give back their time with the people and share what some of the things they have learned. I'll be challenged when I see somebody, they take a ACC and they say, we are going to have a weekly or maybe a monthly forum where we get to mentor these people and teach them, because we are challenging youth to start on social entrepreneurship, but they have not seen it. They have grown in the families where nobody was in business. Their parents and everybody in their lineage was employed. How do you want this person transition from employment to a social entrepreneur?
Right.
We need the skill first. We need the knowledge first. Because what this person is going to do is going to start a business, and as far as they're able to meet their basic needs, they're going to be okay.
Right.
But if they are the same business where they can be able to expand and hire other people, we need to get the model. How do you start? How do you hire people? How do you get people who can be trusted? Because another big challenge we have is the kind of employees that we get even in the market. Do we have people who can own whatever they are doing? Can they be trusted? Can they take ownership? Because you're getting people, they have job today, but they're looking for jobs everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So we also have
interviews every other week.
Yes. So now you have a challenge, because we also need to teach them on persistence. The issue now to start small, grow fast, and develop fast. And even whenever they go, that you can get somebody who can come in the goal and in your dream and say, hey, let's grow, let's expand. Because I have seen also business, you find 3 friends, they join together, they raise capital, but immediately the first profit start come, they want to share. Instead of saying, let's invest it back into
reinvest,
the business, and the business to grow.
Let's take another call. Robert calling in from Garissa. Thank you so much for calling in, Robert. What's your comment or question?
I just have a comment in one question.
All right, go ahead.
I really appreciate for the program. At least it's making me strong. But I only have one question.
All right.
There is that fear of unknown for shifting from employment to entrepreneurship.
Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, that fear now of shifting from being employed to going to the entrepreneurship.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for calling, Robert. We'll be addressing that in just. We talked about this in passing a bit earlier on, but
Yes.
yeah, it's a very big fear to leave that assured
comfort,
salary
assurance.
and to move to something you're not very sure of.
Yes.
But let's be very practical.
Yes.
What are the first steps? What should you prepare for before you leave that job to go into entrepreneurship?
I think number one is to know how much is your expense per month, and make sure at least you have at least 6 months reserve.
Right.
At least a minimum
So that also
reserve
will
of
encourage
6
a
months.
saving culture
Yes,
before you get
so
out.
so that you start a saving culture and you start cutting on cost on your, and then avoid the luxuries that you get at the employment, because I tell people you have to be practical. There is that extra tea that you get, start cutting it before you go, because you're going now to struggle in your own business and you're going to have luxury of buying that 10 to your clock. You have to start even like say, can you discipline yourself and eat in the morning and try to see if you can last in a day?
Right.
Because these are some of the few luxuries, and they create fear of unknown. And then start to even to network with people, because sometimes we cut out the connection. We only interact with people we work with. When you're off duty, who do you interact with? When you go on leave, who do you interact with? Start to get to know the information that is happening even outside the organization, in the country, and even outside the country. Start to interact more with people and get one-on-one. Start to speak to people who have already quit employment and get a practical, approachable ideas that is going to help me. Because one of the things I did, I started to speak to people who have already gone ahead of me. And during my off day, I go and even buy them lunch. It's expensive, but you have to treat them so that you can acquire that. So you must run, you must borrow experience of other people who have gone ahead of you. You must read, because at the end of these are the ones that help you to break that fear of unknown. Yes.
All right, so Robert, 6 months reserves, that's a saving culture that you'll have to start coming up with. So I understand we have another caller. Let's, good morning,
Hello.
What's your comment or question?
Hello,
Hi, how are you? Go ahead.
I'm doing well. Yes, my name is Odilo Morris.
Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Odilo Morris.
Go ahead.
I'm coming from Oranga. Yes.
We can hear you. Please ask your question.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, mine is not a question, but I wanted to appreciate this mentorship.
Right. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, please switch off your TV. Please switch off your TV.
I've just switched off my TV.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you. I'm
thank
just
you.
putting the
All right, we'll have to drop that. I think we have 2 callers on the line. Director, please sort that out. But before we continue,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yeah.
one more thing. I don't know if you've heard
Yes.
of the quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
You know, there's something people in their mid-20s are
Yes.
dealing with, where you
Yeah.
have an identity crisis. You
Yes.
don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Your life is not in order.
Yeah.
All your friends seem to be really on the right track.
Yeah.
But here you are, seemingly just watching everybody be successful.
Yeah.
How really do you, first of all, keep that from discouraging you and feeling, gosh, everybody else is doing so much better than me? And how do you get out of that and really own yourself?
I think number one is the kind of friends you hang around with. I tell people, like, I have one of the big challenges I've ever since I was growing up. I've already found myself with the older people. I think only less than 5 to 10% of my friends who are the same age. I usually find like sometimes we don't agree on our reasoning. And this pushes me further, because I'm not comparing myself with my friends. I'm comparing myself with already people who are maybe 70s, already 50s, and people who challenge me in a bigger perspective. The people who show me, hey, this energy you are having, reserve it and work for your bigger destiny. Because the big challenge is when you're comparing yourself with your friends, and then they are showing you that you look at yourself and say, it's like I'm a failure. Because I remember when I started to work and I wasn't able to buy the fancy TV, the fancy lifestyle in my house. But when I go to my friends, everybody has the flat screen TV. You look at their house, but it is all full of loans. And they are very happy because they can entertain their friends at their house. But for me, I'm working on that small money is when I'm used to publish my book, is when I'm using to go back to school. So it's like I'm a failure in the present, but in the long term, you have a bigger picture. And in the long term, as years goes by, then you find you're overtaking all of them. So it's about the patience and the ability to believe in yourself and your dreams. Don't try to be like everybody else. First, change your friends. Have friends who are older than you, friends who have gone through life, friends who have already messed up, friends who have already done everything that you want to do today.
Right.
And they have already failed. And you have something to learn also from their failure, not just from success only. And people, it's good you learn from both sides, both the success and the failure, so that you say, what are some of your do's and don'ts in life? Because remember, it is what you're going to do when you're in the first quarter that determines even how you're going to fare up in the second quarter. Because if you discipline yourself and work on yourself in your first quarter, it will be easy for you, because when you come to the second quarter, you're going to have something to build on.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, in life, I mean, we all go through hard times and days that just don't seem to end.
Yes.
But many times they say it's a bad day, not a bad life. But it doesn't really resonate like that with humans. Sometimes it will ruin your entire life.
Yes.
But how do we keep that? How do we keep our mental being at bay, just to ensure that even if things are hard, you still have that goal in mind?
I think it's the issue to do with self-image. And I tell people, make sure you cultivate a smile that doesn't wear off whichever day, because cheerful people attract cheerful people. And it's one of the things I have run in the culture of Japanese. They are taught not to show their sadness in front of people. They are always, even the kids are always taught to always smile. And this works benefits for them because, number one, as you know, the law of attraction, cheerful people attract cheerful people. Number two, you always look around your friends. You're always attracted to friends who are cheerful, who bring cheerfulness to you. And then number three, the other benefit that you get is that you get everything like it's working for you. But it's not that you don't have a bad day. You have a bad day, but that is the time you reserve for yourself. You go and work on it yourself. But in the outside, you have this smile that you know it overcomes all the storms. You're able to relax and say, hey, all will be well. Better must come. And you have those words of affirmations that brings cheer to yourself. Because when you are the kind of people that when you get sad, everybody can see. When you get angry, you lose your self-control, you lose your discipline, and you say things that you regret, and you act ignorant, you post everything on social media, everybody knows whatever is happening on you. Guess who is losing? It is you, because one day you'll be in that big office, and people will say, was this your comment? And that time you'll be asking for a CEO and say, it means your anger. If you did not control.
Sometimes people need an outlet, a way of venting. Because sometimes when you bottle it down too much, then it's...
Don't let it be in public, Michelle, because everybody is watching. I'm telling people, like, the biggest challenge, internet does never forget. And I say, internet will never forget. And the big challenge is, I'm seeing our generation in 30 years to come, from now, people will be denied top jobs because of their social media, what they are posting today. And they say, oh, I'm in campus, oh, I'm in high school. Nobody will remember that.
So even when it comes to social media, we need to keep our self-image in mind.
It must reflect. You don't have to show people, oh, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling sick. You don't let your anger go out, and you retain that calmness in you, wherever you are, and you just have that Smile.
Be
everywhere.
zen,
Yes.
like the Japanese.
Yes.
All right, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Bonnie Kim is a Kenyan best-selling author and international motivation speaker coming to us here on Weekend Express. The conversation is on career choices and how to choose really between employment or entrepreneurship, also transitioning from one to the other. And that conversation brings us to a close on Weekend Express. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Michelle Ngele. Do stay with KTN News. Ben Kitili will be with you at the top of the hour with Sunday edition.